Good morning, everybody. My name is Leslie Hairston. I am the alderman of the 5th Ward, which is where we are standing. And just a little bit to the north of us is the 4th Ward, and we are joined by Alderman Sophia King. We are joined also by our local state elected officials, State Representative Cam Buckner, State Representative Curtis Tarver, and our State Senator Robert Peters. It is my privilege to welcome you here. I don't think I have been around here at this point for about 40 years. Just over to the east there, you'll see the remnants of a diving board. I spent many summers here swimming in the lakefront, and of course, I, like everybody else that lives near the lake, love the lakefront trail. I'd like to thank the Army Corps of Engineers for doing this work. When we open the lakefront, I will be able to be here, but I will not be able to do jump bumps on the blocks over there, and I won't be able to do the dips. And so I am truly, truly grateful that it is providing some respite from my exercise. But I want to take the time now to introduce you to our Mayor, Lori Lightfoot. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Hairston, and thank you all for being here on this incredibly beautiful day. First and foremost, we have to give a big thanks to Alderman Hairston for her leadership here in the 5th Ward. I welcome Sophia King, the alderman of the 4th Ward, and I'm grateful for our state representatives who are always active and engaged. Senator Peters and Representative Buckner and Tarver. I also want to thank Superintendent Kelly from our Parks Department, who's been a true leader in our multi-departmental approach to preserve and protect our beloved lakefront. So thank you, Mike, for your incredible leadership. And last but not least, I want to thank Ken Griffin and his team at Citadel for delivering the funding to make today's announcement possible. But we have to know that, of course, this is just the latest in Ken's ongoing generosity to our city's communities. When we were moving quickly to find ways to keep our students fed during the early days of COVID-19, Ken and his team at Citadel stepped up and mobilized $2.5 million to help CPS and the Greater Chicago Food Depository combat food insecurity. They were there with us in the Stay Home, Hit Play youth series, where we took young people and others behind the scenes to some of the city's great cultural institutions and museums. And they were there for us more recently during this past Sunday's citywide first ever high school graduation commencement ceremony. They got involved very early on, provided both funding and technical support, and without them, that great celebration on Sunday would not have been possible. And today's announcement is just another in a series of donations that Ken and his team have made to the city. It was his own $12 million donation several years back that allowed the Park District to complete the Lakefront Trail separation project, which finally split our beautiful 18-mile path between those running and walking on their bikes, making it safer and more enjoyable for all involved. And it's Ken and Citadel's generosity that brings us here today with their $4.75 million donation to the Chicago Park District that will go toward helping repair this trail that has sustained serious damage in recent storms, and build other protection measures for future storms and high waters, as well as strengthen the shoreline in key areas along our lakefront here on our beautiful south side. All of which builds on the multi-departmental work our city has done in coordination with our state and federal partners. And let me say again, a great deal of thanks goes to the Army Corps of Engineers, and particularly the regional district here, who have been fearless advocates for the lakefront. And we will continue to fight to make sure that we get proper federal funding so we can finish the work to protect our lakefront for years to come. We were down at La Rabida, I think it was back in February, as we saw the rising lakefront levels, and noted then that something needed to be done to protect our lakefront. Something still needs to be done. We need to make sure that the Army Corps of Engineers is empowered to conduct the study that is the gating issue for us to find the funding to prepare our lakefront once and for all. We will continue to press the case with our federal partners, because this lakefront is not only a jewel for the city of Chicago, it's a jewel for the region, and what needs to be done here as well as Indiana and Michigan. We all have a connected interest in making sure that our lakefront is strong and vital and doesn't disappear into the lake because rising lakefront waters. So we need to get that job done, and this is just one step in the right direction. The timing of this announcement is especially welcome, as we are just days away from our first cautious step towards reopening our beloved lakefront trail for commuters, as well as those using it to exercise. Apparently a crowd favorite. With that in mind, I'm also excited to announce that in addition to our cautious lakefront reopening on Monday, we will also be lifting some restrictions on another beloved Chicago trail, that's the 606. Like our lakefront, the 606 will be open to anyone looking for an opportunity to run, bike, or walk, or enjoy the outdoors from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. But also, like on the lakefront, we're going to emphasize to keep it moving. We want the public to enjoy these iconic opportunities in the outdoors, but we want everyone to do this safely. And we must make sure that we are mobile and moving along the lakefront, along the 606, along the river walk, and other outdoor activities. It's critically important that we not congregate. Congregation is the worry and concern about spreading COVID-19, which still is very much in our presence. But I'm excited that we're going to be opening up these opportunities for members of the public to enjoy. To help ensure our residents adhere to these rules, the Park District will be working with volunteers who will serve as social distancing ambassadors. And I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, but I can't emphasize it enough. Our reopening of any kind will only work if residents continue to act responsibly. Critically important. I know that all of us are happy to see our favorite spots beginning to reopen over these past few weeks, myself included. And what we've been seeing so far has been encouraging. We continue to make progress on all the public health metrics that we've been tracking now for months. But, and this is a big, important emphasis, we're also watching with great concern other states, other jurisdictions that opened up without cautiously doing so, and where we are seeing huge surges in cases. So in some instances, the highest case infections at any point in the arc of this virus. We're seeing that in other states that did not adhere to the social distancing guidance, that did not reopen cautiously. We will not allow that to be the narrative of Chicago, but that really depends upon each of you being smart, being careful, wearing masks when you're out in public, making sure that you're adhering to social distancing, and continuing to do the hand hygiene requirements that we know make a huge difference. I don't want to be in a position where I have to stand in front of Chicago and say we failed and we have to scale back our reopening. That would be devastating to everyone. So please, please exercise caution, be smart, and make sure you adhere to the social distancing rules. We need to do this together. We need to do this with recognition that we are all connected. And that way, we can continue to enjoy the greatness of this city, both inside and outside. So please remember to be safe while you're moving, while you're out and about and having fun. And at this point, I welcome Chicago Park District Superintendent Mike Kelly to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor. There's probably not a grander vista in Chicago than where we're standing right now, and it's truly one of the grandest vistas in all of the country, and it does feel great to be back on the lakefront. As the mayor said, last time we all got together, we were standing at La Rabida, and it was only maybe 3 months ago. It feels like a lot longer than that. But we were responding to disaster proclamations for the Chicago shoreline. Chicago experienced storms that we hadn't seen in decades in late 2019 and into 2020. And today, some of the water levels are still at some of the highest we've ever seen. And you know, it's as people will see when they go out on the lakefront starting Monday, these high water levels are high. They're here. They're going to stay here. As the mayor mentioned, I do want to thank Ken Griffin, his foundation, their generosity. It was around 5 years ago that Ken Griffin donated $12 million to the Chicago Park District, and it was in an effort to do something we had talked about as a city for decades, separating the trail, 18 miles of trail separation for bikers and pedestrians. And not only do I want to thank him, but I want to thank him for doubling down on that generosity with an additional $4.75 million to the Chicago Park District. I want to echo Alderman Hairston and the mayor. I want to thank Colonel Reisinger and the entire team at the Army Corps of Engineers for their partnership and all their steadfast work with us to maintain the lakefront. I want to thank Commissioner Biaggi and our partners at CDOT, who've been steadfast partners throughout on the lakefront as well. So we are blessed with this great lakefront. Yet it's a blessing that carries responsibilities, and it's a responsibility to maintain and protect the shoreline and to build and restore the lakefront trail for all residents today and for future generations. As we mind those responsibilities, there have been great advocates and partners and supporters of the lakefront at every turn. Now we're hard at work repairing the severely damaged portions of the lakefront, and in just a second I want to highlight some of the areas that we need to pay special attention to. The mayor also mentioned our Keep It Moving campaign. We're all looking forward to, I think it's the understatement of the year, we're all looking forward to get back out on the lakefront. Keep it moving. You're going to see our signs everywhere. Keep it moving. You're going to see our ambassadors everywhere. You're going to see traffic management aides everywhere. Keep it moving. No congregation. We're cautiously reopening. I also, though, want to, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of respecting the signage and the horses and the fencing. A lot of the fencing folks are going to see along the lakefront is not just for Keep It Moving, it's for construction areas. As we're sitting here right now, we're standing in a construction area. This is to protect you from serious harm. So please, respect the signage. The trail, and with that, I want to highlight where the mergers are going to be, because we've gotten a lot of questions about this. There's 3 sections of the trail that are going to merge because they're under construction right now. The first one is from Fullerton to North Avenue. The second one is from North Avenue to Ohio, and from there, users will actually be directed to Lakeshore Drive on that portion. And then here on the south side, there's going to be a merger from 43rd to 51st Street, the mergers. Again, please pay attention, obey the signage, and I want to end on a high note again. And I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank her for her leadership. I want to thank Alderman Hairston and all the state representatives behind us. The lakefront is one of our most important assets in all of Chicago. We have a great responsibility to take care of it. I look forward to seeing everyone back out on the lakefront on Monday, but please, please, please follow the signage and keep it moving. And of course, enjoy yourself this summer. So thank you. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Let me offer 2 last words before I take your questions. Number one is, as we are starting to open up the lakefront, I just want to caution people again about the dangers of the lake. Every year we have way too many instances of drowning because people underestimate the power of this lake. It is very powerful. It has a very heavy undertow. And I just want to make sure that people are cautious. Parents, watch your children. It's really important that we enjoy the lake, but we do so safely. And the last thing I'll say again is, We have a number of people who are volunteering their time as social distancing ambassadors. They're there to help keep you safe. Please be respectful and be polite. And with that, I'm happy to take your questions. I think we actually have a rhythm. We have a pool reporter. Yes, go ahead, please.
Hi, Mayor. Good morning. My name is Jessica D'Onofrio. I'm a reporter with ABC 7 Chicago. One thing that we're seeing on the lakefront this morning as we were doing our live shots, we are seeing a lot of people using the lakefront trail, also seeing a lot of children and people on the playgrounds, which I believe haven't been reopened
That's
yet.
correct.
Can you talk about that and why police might not be stopping them or on the playgrounds or on the trail?
Well, look, we have repeatedly said that playgrounds are closed and off limits, and that's because of the danger of the spread of the virus. We are not devoting resources to repeatedly cleaning the playgrounds, and I would urge parents not to use them because you're putting yourself at risk. We have placed a great emphasis on cleaning those facilities that are open, but we are not doing that with the playgrounds. So you're putting yourself and your children at risk if you're using the playgrounds, which do remain closed. And obviously, we've seen that there's been a little bit of leakage along the Lakefront Trail, and we understand that. That's why we're opening them up, and we feel comfortable opening them up fully on Monday with the hours restrictions and the restrictions that people need to keep it moving.
Mayor, this is from Laura Washington. She wants to ask you about the CTU tweet from yesterday. It depicts a cartoon of the mayor dressed in a police uniform surrounded by a group of white people who appear to be unhappy, and it's captioned with calls to defund the police and get police out of schools. What's your reaction?
Well, I haven't actually seen the tweet, but it has been described to me. And I guess I'll say this. If that kind of tweet, which is clearly racist, had been put forward by a right-wing group, we would rightly be denouncing them. And I think our scorn should be no less because it was put out by the CTU. It's certainly disappointing when a group that professes to be educators, people who are in our classrooms teaching our young people, would engage in these kinds of really deeply offensive and disappointing tactics. It's concerning to me because our young people are always watching. They're always watching our leaders. And so I think the more the CTU engages in this kind of thing, the less and less relevant they are to important narratives in our city. And I think their actions really speak for themselves. I don't think I need to say more than I think the scorn that they've rightfully earned on Twitter with people being outraged and attacking them for stooping to such tactics. It is borrowing a playbook from the right wing, and it's disappointing.
Mayor, this is from my colleague Craig Wall from ABC 7. Mayor, can you give us an update on your plans for opening the beaches, and how much does the recent surge we're seeing in COVID-19 cases in other states impact your plans for when the beaches might reopen?
Well, we are concerned about the beaches because of congregating. We continue to have ongoing dialogue between the Department of Public Health and also the Park District. And when we get to a point where we believe that we can safely reopen the beaches, we will, but for now, they remain closed.
This is from Block Club. There are two questions. COVID spikes have been linked to indoor bars and restaurants in other states. Do you still think we should open up indoor dining in phase 4?
I do think that we can open up indoor dining and do it safely, and I think sooner rather than later. This is something that I have been advocating for some time, but we've not been able to make progress with the state, which is unfortunate. Restaurateurs who have been absolutely devastated and crushed by the stay-at-home order can't depend and really condition their livelihood and that of their workers on whether or not the weather is nice on a particular day. We are opening up indoor activities in other areas. It's way past time that we open up indoor dining, and I'm going to continue to push for that very thing to happen. We can do it, and we must do it safely. We absolutely are looking at what's happening in other states. Very alarmed at what we're seeing from states like Texas and Georgia and Alabama and others. But I think that we can do this in a way that we do it safely, but we've got to be prudent and always put the public health data and conditions first and foremost in our mind.
Mayor, this is from Block Club again. Do you think the city will be ready to move into phase 4 on July 1st? Or are you considering pushing that back, as you've previously noted, the recent mass gatherings and protests and how they could have spread COVID-19?
Yeah, we're concerned about the number of people that have been outside in congregate gatherings for whatever reason. But I'm going to continue to be guided by the science. I don't look into a crystal ball. I can't predict a particular date. I don't think anybody truly legitimately can. You have to be guided by the data, period.
Mayor, this is from a reporter from Telemundo. What type of fines or punishment will people face if they gather along the lakefront or go into the lake?
Well, we're going to try to continue our process that we started long ago to educate people into compliance. We don't want to fine people. We don't want to lock people up. We're going to take the steps that are necessary, and we're going to start with massively educating people. The lake is dangerous, and it's not smart to go in. As I said before, every single year, under other circumstances, we see a number of people who have to be rescued or unfortunately lose their lives to drowning because they don't appreciate how powerful the lake is. And I hope that we can continue our efforts to educate people to be cautious in enjoying the lakefront, but be especially cautious when it comes to getting into the water. We're not allowing that, we're not sanctioning that, and we need to make sure that people understand they should not take that kind of risk.
Mayor, this is from Amy Jacobson from WIND Radio. A new study shows the average teenager has gained 7 pounds during quarantine. In the suburbs, they have started conditioning for all high school athletic programs, swimming, football, soccer, volleyball. CPS coaches are ready to go, and so are the students. So when will you give us the green light to at least let them hold practices outside?
We'll give the green light when the health and public health data tell us that that's appropriate.
This again is from Craig Wall. Can you weigh in on the Supreme Court's decision to block President Trump's end to DACA, calling it arbitrary?
I hadn't heard this good news, and that's good news. I'm grateful. There are so many young people. Wow. There are so many young people who contribute in incredible ways to the vibrancy of our country. They deserve and have the right to be here. And I am grateful. I'll have to get ready on the full decision, but it's a great day. It's a great day. I'll have more to say.
Another question here, Mayor. This is kind of just to get your reaction to this, but the Illinois Supreme Court this morning rejected a request by Chicago FOP to destroy police complaint records that are more than 5 years old.
That's entirely the right decision. First of all, it would violate existing law under the Local Records Act, but more to the point, for way too long, we have not been as transparent as we need to be in this city. We have to have accountability and legitimacy, and that can't come if we hide from the public documents that underscore what has happened with disciplinary investigations and records in our city. And I think the Supreme Court made entirely the right decision. It was something that I supported years ago when this issue first was litigated, when I was the president of Chicago Police Board. It is the right thing to do. We must maintain those records, and we must be transparent about what's in them.
Mayor, it looks like we have one or two more questions. This is from A.D. Quigg from Cranes, and this is more on DACA. So Chief Justice John Roberts joined the court's Democratic appointees in a 5-4 decision that found the Trump administration's move to wind down DACA lacked sound legal basis. What's the impact in Chicago?
I think the impact is huge. There are so many young people who are DACA eligible who've been hanging on by a thread and really not knowing what their future was going to hold, worrying about going away to another country that they have no memory or knowledge of. And so I think that this ruling really speaks to the importance of supporting unequivocally immigrant and refugee rights. You know that we are a welcoming city. We will always be a welcoming city. And being a welcoming city doesn't mean taking half measures. We must protect all of our immigrant and refugee communities, and particularly our young people. I am overcome with joy and relief for them. We had no idea which way the pendulum was going to swing, and we were unfortunately preparing for the worst. I am glad on this bright June day that we have something more to smile about. This is important for our city, and it really, I think, will give these young people a measure of comfort and support that they can live their true, authentic lives in our city, all across the country, and not worry about being hidden in the shadows and being denied their opportunity to pursue their God-given talents and passions. This is an important ruling. I think it will go down as one of the most historic rulings in the history of the Supreme Court. And I'm overjoyed that this decision has been rendered.
It's the last two questions.
Thank you, Mayor. That concludes our questions from the media.
Okay. Sir, I think you had a question.
Thank you, Mayor. Mike Krauser with News Radio. Should the city and the Park District consider removing the Columbus statues that were recently vandalized and have been in the past?
Well, look, I know that the issue of Columbus Day is an issue of great discussion, but I think that the way in which we educate our young people in particular about the history is to educate them about the full history. I have been watching with great interest the debate that's been going on around Confederate monuments. And there was a black historian, and I don't remember his name, but he said, and I think he's right, that we can use this moment as an opportunity to not try to erase history, but embrace it full on. There was a lot of harm that happened over the arc of the history of this country, beginning with the original sin of slavery. And it's way past time that we have a reckoning on that. But I think we also have to recognize that our history, both in this country and our city, is rich and diverse. And the thing that we need to do is do what I think the organizers of the Columbus Day Parade have done, which is invite many people of different backgrounds, different perspectives to participate in what is really a people's celebration. And I think we need to spur that kind of unifying and healing dialogue and not separate and divide people. We have way too many divisive moments in this narrative that's going on right now. As leaders, we need to step up and try to unify people. We're not always going to agree on every issue. And I know that Columbus and his legacy is a flashpoint for many. But I think, again, we need to use this moment as an opportunity to find our common ground as people. That's what we should be doing in Chicago, is to unify, not divide. Let's have honest, hard conversations about the real truths of our history. But let's do it in a way that provides people with an opportunity to speak their truth, to recognize the hurt and the pain that so many have suffered for way too long. I think that's what this moment demands. And I know that the leaders who are here with me today believe the same thing. Let's create dialogue. Let's start healing and unifying. That's what we need to do, particularly when we don't see that happening by the leader of in the White House. We need to do better at the state and local level.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.